Yesterday we were solving inequalities using addition and subtraction, and we found that solving them was just like solving a regular equation. We're going to be doing something similar today, only solving with multiplication and division. We just have to add one rule, and here it is. When multiplying or dividing by a negative number, sorry about that. When multiplying or dividing by a negative number, change the direction of the sign. So if it was less than, you make it greater than. If it was greater than, you make it less than. If it was less than or equal to, you make it greater than or equal to. You just turn it around. The equal sign, or the lack of, stays the same. You just switch the direction. So, for instance, if we had x over 4 is less than 5, we would start by multiplying both sides by 4. Now, are we multiplying or dividing by a negative number? No, so we don't have to do anything to the sign. We just get x is less than 20. And we make sure to graph our solution if they require us to on a number line. On the next one, we have x over negative 6 is less than 7. What am I going to do to both sides? Multiply by negative 6. But here's the trick. If I'm multiplying by a negative number, what do I have to do when I multiply? I have to switch the direction of the sign. So I'm left with x on the left, negative 42 on the right, and it becomes x is greater than negative 42. The same thing happens with division. If I have negative 3x is greater than 24, I know that I need to solve that by dividing by negative 3. But when I divide by a negative number, I need to switch the direction of the inequality. And so I get positive x is less than negative 8. Let's look at example 4. A student pilot plans to spend 80 hours on flight training to earn a private license. The student has saved $6,000 for training. Which inequality can you use to find the possible hourly rates that the student can afford to pay for training? So if he's going to use 80 hours, he's going to pay a certain rate for each hour. So 80 hours times, say, $40 an hour would get what he pays total. So 80R represents the total amount he's going to spend. But he only has $6,000 saved for training. So the question is, what inequality are we putting in the middle? Now, this is the most he can spend, which means it has to be bigger than whatever the total cost is, or it could be equal to. So that's how we write our inequality. The total time spent, 80, or the total money spent, 80 times R, has to be less than or equal to what he has. So we can solve that to find the highest possible rate he can afford. What do we do in order to solve this inequality? We divide both sides by 80. So when we divide by 80 on the left, we get R. And when we divide by 80 on the right, we get to 75. Notice we didn't change the direction of the inequality because we were dividing by a positive number. All right, I'm going to give you two inequalities, and I want you to solve them on your own. We'll pause the video and give you a chance to do it, and then when we hit play, you can walk through it and see if you got it right. So take a second and work these through. Okay, so with the top one, we have m divided by negative 7. We're going to solve that by multiplying by negative 7. So we get m, and on the right, we get negative 11.2. But because we multiplied by a negative, we had to switch the sign, and it becomes greater than. M is greater than negative 11.2. The bottom to solve, we have to divide by negative 6. So on the left, we have n, and on the right, we have negative 4. But because we divided by a negative number, we switch the direction of the sign and make it greater than. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If not, you can start the homework.